Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for the races of Saturday, January 11th. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornital, back with you in the Brooklyn bunker once again, playing a little hurt. My voice is much better than it was around Breeders' Cup time. If you folks all suffered through that, you know what I'm talking about. But it's not great today because I have a cold, but it's not the sort of pattern that we were dealing with back then. But it doesn't matter what I sound like because we bring you Mr. Mellifluous himself coming to you right now. He is the original partner in the Money Media. You know him from the work he does at America's Day at the Races on Fox and elsewhere. He's Jonathan Kinchin. What's up, JK?
I have no idea what that word is that you're saying, but I trust that it's good.
Yeah, it means like musical. You're a pleasure to listen to.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
Speaking of pleasures to listen to and or watch, we talked a little bit about Texas football, and some people will be listening to this, and the game will have already happened. We won't bother with the Thursday night game. Not enough lead time for that. But your beloved Longhorns going into battle on Friday night. I know what your heart says. What does your head say?
Yeah, I mean, it's a complete overreaction, in my opinion, the way that it is. When those before Texas played Arizona State and before Ohio State played Oregon, Texas was favored in that potential matchup between Texas and Ohio State. Texas was the favorite to win the national championship prior to those games, and then one sloppy fourth quarter from us, and a complete domination from Ohio State, who weeks ago lost at home to horrible Michigan. Suddenly now they're 6.5 point favorites. I think it's just an overreaction. Certainly Ohio State is talented and they've got the talent to compete with Texas and to be a problem for Texas. But this is also one of the best football teams they will have played all year. They played Oregon, and that's great, and handled them. They beat Penn State badly when they played Penn State. But Texas is up there too as a team that could be a problem. It's a game played in Texas, in Dallas, where there's going to be a heck of a lot of Texas fans there. There'll be a lot of Ohio State fans there too. But it's just one of those games where whoever plays well is going to win, which is obvious. But I don't believe that the -6 is a fair number. I think it should be much closer to a 3 situation.
From a betting point of view, you feel like you're getting equity with Longhorns and points?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would tell people in this day and age, it's not as hard to do. Is take that 6 to 7.5 and lose the juice there, but have that protection of a touchdown. I feel like this will be I just don't see them blowing Texas out. Oregon's one of those teams that they're fast and they're sexy, but Ohio State, a team like Ohio State that shows up is a problem for them.
We're here to talk about.
So it was a little bit dressed up.
I get it. I get to use a horse racing term, which is appropriate because that's what we're here to talk about. And in this segment of the show, we're going to talk about the late pick 5 at Gulfstream Park on Saturday. Really good card at Gulfstream on Saturday. You know, they're going to have some more Bonanza-y cards coming up, but there's some rock solid stuff here. Even if you're more of a casual fan, take a look at the 4th race on Saturday. Some very interesting maidens, little birds buzzing around about the Brad Cox runner in that field. Vanderbilt supposed to be all right, son of Into Mischief, but I haven't even handicapped that race yet. I've been focused on the late pick 5, which is our regularly scheduled programming, and that one starts off also with a fun 3-year-old maiden special weight going a mile on the dirt. JK, who do you think wins it?
Yeah, I got 2 thoughts here. One is that shout out Qatar Racing. Will be rooting for Wild Conqueror for Brad Cox. Qatar Racing and their partnership with China Horse Club. They got an $800 and something thousand horse here down towards the rail, the 2 runner. So we'll be rooting for our friends in the Clarendon Gold. But I also think this horse is going to take money. And I'm going to start off with a single here, a pick 5 single. I'm going to single Camp Hale. Ian Wilkes in his career is only 6% with 2-year-olds. This is a horse that ran 2 winning races as a 2-year-old, unfortunately got beat. Ran into Guns Loaded and David of Athens in those 2 starts to debut at Keeneland and Churchill, but ran winning type races. So my point is that his 2-year-olds typically don't run that well. Now you're going to get a first start as a 3-year-old for this gelding, drawn well. I'm going to single Camp Hale to get started in this pick 5.
I have Camp Hale on the radar as a backup. My other backup in this spot, the 10 runner, Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, to go with the 9 Camp Hale. As far as Love 'Em and Leave 'Em goes, just looks like one that should improve second time for Bill Mott with more ground, though I did pull the numbers, and I don't know where this comes from. It's a very weird stat, and when stats are weird, I tend not to like overcommit to them. I'm not leaving this horse out because of the stat, but the Bill Mott numbers with second time starters are like shockingly not good for a guy who has good stats in almost every category. So I'm going to have them, the 9 and the 10 as backups, but my top pick in the race is number 8, Gosker. Thought this horse was really interesting. Well bet on debut. Did not break well. Ran on well late in that race, going what was probably too short of a distance. And this is a barn with better than average improvement second time out, Brendan Walsh. So I thought Gosker was interesting, but I'm certainly not going to get beat by your 9. And actually, interestingly, on the morning line, Love Him or Liam is 10-1 on Brian Natto's morning line. He usually does a very good job guessing these things. If you want to hear more from Brian, check out the podcast we did, and we're going to be doing every Friday for Gulfstream. We're going to be doing spot plays and talking about the tropical turf pick 3. But anyway, if Brian's guess is right, that's a good price, I think, on the 10 runner. 8, 9, and 10 for me, the 9 for JK to kick things off as we pivot to race number 8. Tricky looking affair, fillies and mares, 10 claimers on the synthetic. I was going to be very spready in here, so I'll quickly run through my numbers. The number 1, Amunet, I thought had the right draw and a sneaky chance to be the best closer in the spot. Won last time she was on synth. The 12, Smart Spending, I wanted to mention, thought would win with a repeat of the last race, just has to keep that good form going. And then I wanted a couple speed runners as well, because I didn't have a clear idea how the pace was going to shake out here. The 8, Grandma's Pudding, ran her best race in a long while when switched to Carlos David, and did so up on a fast pace, maybe the best speed. And then 10, Kosia, I thought was interesting, raced against the grain of closer-friendly tracks, according to Timeform US, the last 2 times. 112, 810. Do you have any more clarity in this race, or are you as confused as me?
No, not really. I mean, I'm looking for horses that are going to come from off of it. You know, it's the synthetic races usually can play into those hands. I'm going to go with Don't Get Pickled, third off of the break for Patrick B. and Cone. I agree with you on Smart Spending. I don't have numbers, so I'm assuming that you have some for me here.
Yep.
And then the last, the far outside horse, Cabernet, for the trainer change to Jose D'Angelo. Jose D'Angelo is one of those trainers who I think is pretty darn sharp. I had him on JK+1, got to hang out with him a few times this summer as well. I think he's a really good horse trainer and a guy who can win a lot of races. He's 27% so far at the meet, 15 for 55, depending on when I don't know what they ran today or whatever, but 15 for 55. So he's doing well. I think he'll move this horse up. So I'll use those 3. Don't Get Pickled, Smart Spending, and Cabernet.
11, 12, and 14 are the numbers Cabernet having to draw in off the AEs. These would be the second AE, so a real chance of getting in there. And I would agree would be one to take a look at should those circumstances prevail. Let's go to the hinge of this late pick 5 at Gulfstream. 3-year-olds once again, but this time turf horses in the allowance ranks, going 1 mile and a 16th on the turf. JK, we'll keep it with you.
Yeah, I wanted to single Dream On based off of the body of work, but especially that Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf where that race completely fell apart, and he's the one who was on the front end making it fall apart. These Not This Times have been sensational, and I think that Dream On is definitely one that you could potentially single in here. I'm going to single a Dream On, but I'm going to use the 2 Gene and Jude as a B horse. This Kitten's Joy gelding for Jack Sisterson and our friends at Glen Hill Farm. She's a homebred, a horse that's going to continue to improve, and who won well last time wire to wire. When you see those kind of Glen Hill types finding themselves on the front end, you know they're going to have some stamina to go on with, and I think Gene and Jude is one of those.
I like that idea, and I respect both those horses. Dream On I had as an A, but also not my top pick, just because I felt like this horse clearly seems to be the best speed in the spot, but going to be, I think, a big fave. I'm not sure what did Brian hang on? 6-5 for the morning line. That's probably about right. I'm not going to be a hero and try to beat this horse, but I just didn't necessarily want to trust alone. The other one I was interested in, I'm going to steal your idea of throwing the 2 in as a backup, but the one I wanted as my top pick, and I'd even make this a spot play on the day, and I would play exactas with the 5 Soleil Volant and the 6 Dream On. Soleil Volant gets the Lasix blinkers makeover for Graham Motion. Thought was against the flow at this level back in December, and just looks to me in this spot like there's a lot more late pace to set up a late run. I think Soleil Volant could be seen to much better effect. And I want to get in the habit, JK, of throwing in some spot plays from time to time. We promote sequences on a lot of our podcast content, and we play them a lot too, so it makes sense. But in terms of trying to win betting horses, picking out certain horses in certain situations you like and focusing on those in addition to just trying to catch these big fish and pick fives and pick sixes, not a bad way to fly. So yeah, that's how I'm seeing that one as race number 9. We'll get to race 10 in a second, but I first want to remind folks that the Pegasus World Cup Betting Challenge is coming up. Gulfstream Park, we're within a few weeks' time, January 25th, $6,000 live bankroll event, $5,000 live bankroll, $1,000 goes to the entry fee. Going to be a couple $100,000 in that pot in the form of various seats and cash. And if you don't want to put up that money, you can win your way in. expressbet.com/tournaments, the place to go to check that out. Let's get back to Gulfstream on Saturday with a look at race number 11, $20,000 claimers on the turf. This is a race that will be part of the Tropical Turf Pick 3. And actually, I skipped a race, didn't I? I did. Scratch that, reverse it. We'll get to that race number 11 in a minute. We're going to go to the stakes race on the day, the Sunshine Classic, for these Florida-bred dirt horses going a mile and a 16th. And I thought this was an interesting race. I respect the favorite, number 4, Secret Chat, very obvious on figures and form. Back to the races now, headed in the right direction. Could stalk and pounce his way to victory. But my top pick is going to be number 2, Kozaris, just because I think this horse comes with a bunch of excuses. Maybe the distance was a little too sharp last time, off the layoff, tricky trips, and a little over his head the previous 2 races. Last time, Kozaris went a mile at this level, ran a 94 Beyer speed figure. That would look real good in this field, and the horse is going to be a price. I think could maybe get a good trip from the second flight, has this rail draw, maybe finishes past them. I like it 2-4 in the featured Sunshine Classic on Saturday. What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny. I spread in here and I didn't use your top pick, which is interesting. So there might be an opportunity for me to kind of take another glance here. I'm going to use Secret Chat, the favorite. I'm spreading in here. Awesome Train, who I thought had similar numbers. Tactical. You get Tyler Gaffalione, the switch there, which I thought was a positive. One Sharp Cookie, who had kind of fallen off form, but has some back numbers last summer or the previous summer. For Safi Joseph, and Safi obviously wins a lot of races down there, 22% so far for the meet. Shaq Diesel right to the outside of that one for David Fox, another one who is right in the mix with numbers, comes in fresh off a break. And that's at least an interesting part, but he has run well in spots where he comes in fresh. So I wasn't too concerned with that. And then Big Martini towards the outside, I wanted to have as well. This one could be a little bit more of a B type with that ship up from Tampa, but is one that I thought I wanted to have. So it's more of a budget thing for me, but Big Martini will be in the mix, whether it be an A or a B.
4, 5, 6, 7, 12, the numbers for JK. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Kozaris at a glance doesn't look that good. You're right. Dig back like 6 lines to find the race I was interested in. I would say if you're spreading, though, don't get beat by that one in a spread race. Again, though, if you can afford it, all depends on how the construction works out. Now we'll get to the $20,000 claimer that caps off the Tropical Park pick 3 with its 15% takeout that we encourage folks to check out. I had a fairly strong opinion in here, so I'll go first in this one. Number 3, Nantasket Beach. Just, I thought, a terrifically consistent horse for this level, in the money the last 6 times. Last run earned a time form U.S. upgrade for being close to that early pace, and I thought would get a good forward trip in a race where he could eventually prove the best speed. Don't think this horse will be on the lead, but think will be in a good attacking position and maybe tough to down in the end. The 3 for me to close things out. Who do you like in the lucky last?
I almost singled. That one, but I ended up landing on Alley Oop Johnny. And I don't know exactly what happened, but it looks like there was a voided claim, and then there's a trainer change into a trainer with high numbers, right? He's 2 for 3 for the year, 2 for 5 at the track, and he's 20% overall throughout his career with almost 4,000 starters. So you're moving back to a barn in which he had this horse at one point, and the horse ran well, and the numbers are just too close. You're getting a rider upgrade, to me, in my opinion, to Tyler Gaffalione. I just needed to make sure I had both of those. But yes, Nantasket Beach is the one that I would have to have, but I really want to have Alley Oop Johnny as well.
Yeah, I looked long and hard at Alley Oop Johnny. I eventually got off because I didn't think the pace would set up for a late runner, but with me almost picking the horse and you now picking the horse, I think I'm going to pop Alley Oop Johnny in there as a B. If they go unexpectedly fast, I do think Alley Oop Johnny very likely the one to benefit.